Cal, you mentioned REITs being one of your larger clients right now, and how you touched on some of the potential stakeholders and end users. But I am curious to maybe just talk through that a little bit more. And Cal, you can speak from experience being being an end user of the ClimateCheck product. But Cal, if you want to maybe just maybe expound on that a little bit and talk through who exactly is using it, whether you're seeing more portfolio type work or if it's more, transaction by transaction. I think that would be really helpful right now.
Yeah, I think every group's different, right? Like I said in the beginning, it is the Wild West right now. I think historically how we've seen the adoption of this data has been through kind of ESG reporting. And this is our experience, anecdotal, but the REITs really took hold to it. I'd say the majority of REITs are doing some type of climate risk reporting as part of their ESG reporting. And then you see it trickle through the organizations and it gets pushed into the acquisition folks and it becomes part of the due diligence process. So we usually start, and typically it's different everywhere. Sometimes it starts within acquisition and due diligence and then moves into ESG reporting. But for ESG reporting, we'll look at kind of the overall portfolio. And this really gets into risk management too. And then any new assets brought in, they'll do kind of deeper due diligence on those individual assets. That being said, so the REITs are doing it, private equity, there's a lot of growth in that space for us. And then a lot of lender conversations. I think they're all watching these SEC proposed climate risk disclosure and trying to understand where do they ingest the data in their organization and how do they think about it when they're looking at origination. So I think that's something to watch closely. And that's my experience. I don't know, Holly, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it parallels what you're seeing, Cal. We've definitely seen the REITs adopt it more quickly. They also, we're talking about kind of what's driving this attention on this. I think one of the most important drivers right now is the property insurance market. So anyone owning real estate assets, commercial real estate assets right now is aware that we've had multiple years in a row now of double-digit pricing increases on property insurance as a result of the natural disasters that have occurred. And so there's increasing attention to what can we do to help our buildings perform better? What can we do in an asset preservation mindset, as well as the ESG mindset that you mentioned, Cal. So I think, yes, first adopters would be owners and REITs that are finding, okay, property insurance is increasing. How do I help my buildings retain their value? The next group of folks that we've heard from are the lenders, like you mentioned, Cal. In fact, really what brought me to this space was two of our clients who I think kind of began early on looking at how do we incorporate this type of climate risk information in our environmental site assessment process, which is interesting because I think we have in this space, there are so many different silos. There's a sustainability, there's sustainable finance, there's ESG. As a lending institution, you're making certain commitments. Then we have regulatory factors that are maybe pushing you to think about risk in a broader fashion. And then you have folks trying to solve for that. And I think it's really important for those of us in the due diligence community to realize that we have been helping lenders manage risk for decades, and that expanding the view of what risk is to include climate change and natural hazards is a natural fit. And we have a lot to offer in terms of how to enhance the due diligence process so it's effective and it flows through those same channels that know how to manage these issues. So absolutely, I see a question in the Q&A about our consultants, including ClimateCheck within their ESAs. And yes, we have a few clients that have us do that now. I think I would say experimenting with how to use this information. I don't know that anyone is, utilizing it for credit decisions at this point, but they want to experiment with, okay, what does this do to the due diligence flow when we gather this information? What do we do next? So yes, I've seen those conversations happen as well, and increasingly happen.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that too. I mean, the industry is evolving very quickly, and we feed data directly to a, a lot of different groups. But what's happened as it's evolved, they start looking at the information like, hey, we need help from a human that understands this, and really, we want to understand where our vulnerabilities are and what we can do about it. And I think that's kind of, as I see the industry shaking out, the due diligence consultants are really kind of stepping up and helping do that, and where we can provide the base information. So that I think that's kind of the next step of the evolution.
Yeah, one thing I'll add too, Cal, is the conversations I've had with a number of lenders, more so I'd say over the past 6 months than obviously, probably than the past 2 years, 3 years combined. They're sort of starting to struggle with how to benchmark their portfolio. And, you have all these assets on the books, and sort of understanding where they are today, not just, what the process is going to look like moving forward at origination for new assets that they bring on. But, that's why that portfolio report really kind of resonated